What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Thursday edition of The Drive with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We are powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Check out the promo code in the show notes below. Also coming at you on my YouTube channel, brought to you by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports and Critical Talent Sports Agency, Critical Talent Entertainment. A lot of NFL to get into. Great to catch up. We'll give you some kind of whereabouts to shows we'll be going down the road, but we wanted to kind of hit a spot with our good friend Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. You catch him on SR 1029 FM The Game every Monday, 8 to 9, our NFL guru insider. And as he likes to say, the NFL news, it never stops. And I want to kind of dive into a couple of the hot names out there as far as the free agent quarterbacks to be and some of the rumblings, some of these current odds of where some of these guys might be landing. And let's start with, I guess you can say two of them. There's buzz right now that former Jet quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, is being linked to the New York Giants. And the same could be said with Matthew Stafford of the Rams linked to the Giants and also Rodgers linked to the Rams. So I will defer to you on this. I'll pull up the odds for the landing spots in a moment. But when it's all said and done, will Aaron Rodgers be suited up under center to start next season, or will he be retired? And will Matthew Stafford be on another team other than the Rams?
This is something we had talked about a couple weeks ago. I kind of teased you, and Aaron Rodgers looking to go across locker rooms at MetLife Stadium,
Oh,
and
yeah.
definitely he is in play for the Giants. Rodgers wants to play. He's going to be 41 real soon, or if he has turned already. And you have to wonder what team's going to take a chance on him. But I think somebody will give him an opportunity. He still wants to go out there. Obviously, he still thinks he has enough bullets in the gun. I'm just not sure in terms of is it going to be a frontline team. So I fully expect him to be in the league and have his opportunities. And then you talk about Matthew Stafford. I've heard rumblings and talked to some guys that the Rams definitely are probably going to move in a new direction with him. I didn't think he played horribly against the Philadelphia Eagles. It was very cold outside, snowy weather. But I just think they think at his age they may want to go in a new direction. So I think he will be on a new team. It's interesting to see where he lands. I've heard he's been talking with Tom Brady, and we know that he is now affiliated with the Raiders, so they're in play as well.
Yeah, interesting that you brought that up. So, and I'll kind of piggyback on that in a moment. So, if you look at the Aaron Rodgers odds right now, Pittsburgh at plus 200, the Raiders at plus 300, San Fran plus 350, which is interesting because obviously Rodgers, a Bay Area kid growing up. Again, people are still wondering what they're going to do with Brock Purdy. And then, as I mentioned, the Giants are plus 12,000. And then you got to go all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way down. I should say Giants are plus 1,200. And then you got to go all the way down plus 10,000 for Washington, that obviously has their franchise quarterback. I think for Aaron Rodgers, I think it could be the Raiders. I think it could be Pittsburgh. I think it could be San Francisco. I think a team's going to take a flyer on him as a bridge. Now, what's interesting, you mentioned that the Raiders reportedly have already have I guess you can say, a flirtation with Matthew Stafford. And I guess it's caused, friction among some NFL media heads that want to get in fights at Starbucks and all this other nonsense. I mean, grow up. You're grown men here and you're arguing over who's breaking friggin' news. Like, get a life, will you? But that being said, you know, stuff's never a coincidence, right? And the NFL came out and they basically, hey, no issue with Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford meeting. The Rams gave him an opportunity to go seek a trade. So here we go. I still think Matthew Stafford has some gas left in the tank. I don't know if the Raiders are the best landing spot in the destination, but as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, Tom Brady is the one running the show. And, I know there's these reports already that the Raiders have a contract in place. I mean, let's kind of pump the brakes with that. But look, you got Russell Wilson out there. You got Fields. You got Lance. You got Aaron Rodgers. You got Kirk Cousins. You got Carr. You got guys that they're all veterans and they might be looking for new jobs. Obviously, in the offseason when it's all said and done, and I just don't know if I guess if you're a free agent quarterback and you've won before, what do you think they're looking at for a potential landing spot? Because there's no way I'm paying Stafford 40 to $50 million a year. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, Q, I think the biggest thing is opportunity, and a lot of these guys, they have to find the right fit where they can kind of not resurrect their career, but continue some ascension before they start moving into that veteran backup type role or think about retirement. And think about what happened with Kurt Warner when he went out to Arizona. A lot of people said, "Oh, why are you going there?" And then it turned out to be a good opportunity for him. So, these guys are always going to look around, look for a good landing spot. Always watch their cronies, former coaches, guys they knew from the college ranks, and maybe they'll give them an opportunity. But I do think a lot of these veteran quarterbacks will have new addresses, and it's just teams gave it a shot for 1 year, 2 years, and they just said, you know what, it's just not working. We got to move in a direction. Think about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson was pretty good in the first 10 games, and then he
Yep.
kind of slowed down at the end, did not look good, but I still think he's going to get an opportunity out there. Justin Fields, you were talking about him. He's an interesting name. A lot of people like his ability. There were some questions on his accuracy, but teams can still think, I think, can build an offense around him. So uh, Steelers may bring him back, but he's definitely going to have opportunities out there.
How about the story coming out during the combine in Indianapolis that Falcons GM Terry Fontenot and their head coach Raheem Morris mentioned Tuesday that they were unaware that Kirk Cousins was dealing with an injury late in the season. I mean, that's kind of big news. That's substantial news because there's a reason you have probable, questionable, right on the shelf. The injury report, so to speak. And he's Cousins, I guess, mentioned on NFL Network that he suffered the hit against the Saints, hurt his right shoulder and his right elbow, and never got back to where he wanted it to be for the rest of the season. I mean, they put him on the injury report one day during week 11, said he was limited in practice, a walkthrough specifically due to right shoulder and right elbow issues. And then he basically chalked up the injury report appearance to a clerical error when asked after Atlanta's week 11 game against the Denver Broncos. So, I mean, if you're not in the know and there's no transparency, rest assured the NFLPA is going to step in, and I'm sure the NFL itself, because listen, you have to do your due diligence with the team doctors, and the head coaches and the GMs have to know when a franchise quarterback is banged up. And the franchise quarterback also has to let the head coach know that he's banged up because you got to put it in the injury report and you got to have clarity there.
Thank you. And this is the interesting time of the year where everybody's overly honest. And, during the season, you talk to them in the locker room, the guys are giving you nothing. Now they're out of the
Sure.
team's facility, and the combines become like another convention for the
Yeah.
National
Yeah.
Football League. Everybody, they had the Super Bowl, everybody's in New Orleans. Now everybody's kind of transitioned to Indianapolis. They're all there, and they're kind of sitting around talking. And I'm sure didn't mean to give a scoop to somebody, but he probably told him, said, look, my shoulder was a little banged up and this is what happened. And now they're trying to backtrack it a little bit. I'm sure, you'll see Shane Steichen and his staff with the Colts kind of saying, okay, I mean, with the Atlanta
Yeah.
Falcons, Raheem Moore and them, they're going to try to walk it back, but the fine's coming, Q, and we'll see what happens. But after the combine's going to kind of be a lull, and the league year will start in early March.
Yeah. You mentioned Russell Wilson, 36. Um, Aaron Rodgers, 41, right? Cousins is getting up there. Justin Fields is only 26. But again, the Steelers didn't have any quarterbacks under contract. Sam Darnold's 28. And I'm wondering again if he's kind of going to set the mark, if you will, for quarterbacks. I know that the Seattle Seahawks want to get a deal done with Geno Smith. They think he's the answer going forward. But then there's guys like Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo. The Rams said that, hey, they would be okay with him being the starter. You got Mariota, Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, Winston. So you got some, journeyman quarterbacks out there, and typically teams will take a flyer. Indianapolis is going to bring in probably a vet because they want to push Richardson a little bit, which leads me to this. If you're looking at the draft right now, and all of a sudden it seems as though Cam Ward is just darting up the charts, right? And this is what we do. We overvalue these mock drafts. We overvalue the combine. Greg Cosell came out and said Cam Ward worthy of the number one draft pick in 2025 in April, a couple months away. You've got the Abdul Carter injury. So now all of a sudden that, the domino starts to fall with that. Think about it. If you had him on your radar and you got a top five pick, or you thinking about drafting him one, two, or three, you might have some reservations. So if you're Tennessee, you need a quarterback, you're probably going to draft Cam Ward. If you're Cleveland and you're looking at an edge rusher, okay, Abdul Carter. But here's the problem. Obviously, they're talking about surgery for him. And then you got the Giants sitting there number three, and every one of their mothers linking Sanders to the Giants. So I just think when it's the uniqueness of where we're at right now is guys' stocks are going to rise and fall. The kid Jackson Dart, his stock is rising. Other quarterbacks' stocks are rising. Come April, who do you believe will be the top two quarterbacks picked? The first two quarterbacks taken. It doesn't matter what order.
Yeah, I firmly believe that it's going to be Cam Ward, probably the number one overall pick. The dominoes starting to fall, and uh, Cam Ward as well, Shador Sanders, they're both there in Indianapolis. I don't think they're going to work out. They're going to do their interviews. They're going to talk to teams. Jackson Dart will be there as well. Um, but I think the Tennessee Titans will. They just have to get a quarterback. They have to get that building block out there. Will Levis is not the guy. Mason Rudolph not the guy. So I definitely think that you will see Ward probably go number one. Shador Sanders. Going to be interesting to see if the Giants decide if he's their guy or they want to take a chance on him. Obviously, we've always been hearing about the Raiders out there and being linked to him. So he's going to have his opportunities as well. But I still think it's going to be those two quarterbacks. Jackson Dart did not have the best college career, and now he's moving up. So, like as you said, this is the talking time, and everybody's putting the rocket to somebody's back. And then, unfortunately, Abdul Carter, that foot injury is going to be huge. Q. It's going to change the top of the draft. And if I'm the Browns, they got to think about Courtney Brown. They took him very high out of Penn
That's right,
State,
Penn State.
had a lot of injuries, and it just didn't turn fall out. And Abdul Carter is going to say what he will in terms of surgery, et cetera. But that's definitely going to be on teams' radar. Every doctor is going to be looking at that around the NFL.
Let this sink in. The NFL salary cap was 3.5 million in 1985. It's increased 159 million in the past 15 years. Right now, the 2025 NFL salary cap is set. It's going to be 279.2 million, which is an increase of 23.8 million from last year. It just shows you the absolute monster. Monster. I mean, if you look at projected player costs, including benefits, they're sitting at 362 million. I mean, the NFL, I don't care what anyone says, it's billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. And that's why it's 24/7, 365. Your team can be in the NBA finals, the Stanley Cup finals, or a friggin' pennant race. It doesn't matter. We're still talking NFL. So the cap goes up. And, now we know, right? And players are going to want to get paid, man. I mean, as the cap keeps going up, franchises are worth more. Obviously, you got to increase, with the demand, and then the salaries go up too.
The revenues are through the roof with NFL. I think over $13 billion or so, and the owners are splitting that. They know they have a cash cow, and they're going to milk it. And the NFL's doing it. We talk about the international series is back. They're going to have games all over the place, Ireland and Germany,
Yep.
London. So
Yep. Mexico,
they're
maybe
hitting
Brazil
that.
again. Yep.
They're charging regular season ticket prices in terms of the two preseason games that they have. They have the NFL Network. We talk about the year-round calendar. The NFL never sleeps, where they have the combine, then they'll have the draft, and they'll cover the owners' meetings. I mean, it's always front and center in people's mouth in terms of
Yeah.
the NFL. They're America's passion, and I don't know if it's fantasy football, gambling, etc. It's what everybody's talking about. People are when they're sitting around, that's what they're talking about around the water cooler. The other sports really have a problem because they're just not as popular as they are used to be. And the NFL's got, the market corner with these TV packages that are going through the roof, Netflix, Prime, all these streaming services, as well as the three major networks are paying per game. So yes, salaries are going to go up. And that's why you see Dak Prescott is a $60 million player. And there's going to be guys coming behind him.
Yeah. This is why some of these guys don't want to get tagged. This is why some of these guys want to hit the market. I believe the Browns are going to figure out a way to keep Myles Garrett. Great player, but again, everyone's sitting there linking, Howie Roseman and the Eagles will figure out a way. You also got to look at his age too. And then, I don't know if you heard this, and again, Thursday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Lloyd Vance kind enough to join us. Jim Harbaugh ranked dead last in player survey about efficient use of time. Now, are we talking about clock management? Are we talking about day-to-day operations, week to week? What are we talking about here?
I think it's day to day. It's a situation where he's a tough guy. He's no nonsense, and it's his way or the highway. He came in there with the Chargers and got them on a new page. The team had kind of sputtered under Brandon Staley, brought some discipline, brought back what they needed to have, and sometimes some of these players are going to push against that. But I
Yep.
think with success, they'll buy into it. We've seen that in the past with other tight, fisted coaches out there. So definitely it's probably some guys rebelling and he's going to clean house. He started cleaning cupboard last year of guys he didn't want on the team, and it's going to continue this season. But he has some really good building blocks with Herbert and some other players.
Um, don't forget you can catch Lloyd every Monday night, 8 to 9 on SR 1029 FM The Game. So these are some estimates of combined U.S. sportsbook casino platforms' monthly active user totals as of the start of 2025. And Ryan Butler tweeted this out. FanDuel, 4 million. DraftKings, 3.5. BetMGM, 1 million. ESPN Bet, 350,000. Something they've pushed at nauseum. And you download the app and you're not even interested in this. And then Bet Rivers, 200,000. I mean, I don't know about Bet365. I don't know about Fanatics as well, but I mean, there was a couple of earnings calls earlier this week with ESPN Bet saying 550,000 subscribers. Obviously, that's not even close when we're talking 350. I guess the point being is, it's not, um, you some networks, some applications, some platforms should kind of steer clear of trying to push the gambling element because they're just not good at it. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I mean, we do this with BYP, but some are just not good. I mean, you've got an app that you're downloading, but you're not actually downloading the sister app or the gambling app. And to me, you would think about all the money that's been wagered in sports. Everyone wants to get their fill, but it just shows me that there is a ignorance to the gambling community because probably the lines are not set in a favorable fashion. They're not allowing certain bets to be pushed through. And I thought those numbers would be a little higher, but here we are, and we know the type of money that's wagered during the NFL season.
And we remember when the legislation went through in New Jersey and
Oh yeah,
West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and we knew that the NFL was open for business in terms of gambling, and everybody wanted a piece of pie. And DraftKings and these other companies that you kind of named, they they jumped right on it. They're at the forefront of it. FanDuel and all those other guys, and ESPN's trying to get their taste because they try to get involved in everything, whether it's movies, TV, et cetera. They are a Disney company. And then you talk about the conflict of interest because how can you take bets on games when they have a piece of the pie in terms of televising it? And you start wondering, okay, is there some backdoor stuff going
right.
on there? So a lot of people that I've talked to, a lot of gamblers, they said they've kind of shied away from the ESPN bet. So, it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to keep it around. A lot of times ESPN will try things and then ABC Disney will come in and they'll say, this is not worth the revenue stream. So maybe they'll step away from it. We'll see how it goes.
We did learn of the passing of one of my all-time favorite actors today, Gene Hackman. And you're old school, kind of like I am. I still believe the genre of the '70s was the best. Uh, when it comes to the history of movies. I mean, you just had classics, and The French Connection was a classic. Popeye Doyle, Gene Hackman. Obviously, everyone knows him from Unforgiven, Crimson Tide, the scenes with Denzel Washington, and then obviously Hoosiers, and so many other movies. I mean, I tell you, he any role he can play, and he just had that that intensity that you love, and then that classic little kind of the little chuckle. But I was floored, man. I mean, it's a tough story when you read it. You know, they're still trying to figure out what happened with him and his wife, and they were found with the dog as well. But I would say one of the greatest American actors we've ever seen.
He is the American treasure, and he's going to be missed. And you wonder who's going to replace these old guys in terms of they were great actors, as you said. They could step into any role and play any character. And you know, on the sports side, I thought he was real. Hoosiers is the classic,
Yeah,
and then don't forget about the replacements.
Jimmy
I thought,
McGinty.
yeah, I thought he was a great, coach there. And it was fun to watch him in those movies. And as you had said, he had that stern hand, and you you didn't question. You're like, oh, okay. Some guys they put him in sports roles, and you're like, no, that's not a fit.
Yeah.
Like Kevin Costner in Draft Day. I just was not
Oh,
buying at him as a GM. It was just like, come on, man. So
horrible.
but
But you know
but
the writing in the script was brilliant for Hoosiers, right? Because obviously he was in the service. He had issues when he was a college coach with Ithaca. Hit the kid, went to the service, came back. It's been like 10 years since I blew one of these to whistle, and he's trying to teach these kids. And a couple of the great scenes, basically, when the one kid fouls out and the other kid wants to go in there, and he's like, "No, no, no, my team's on the floor, so they're playing with four, right?" The other scene, everyone knows the great speech and the picket fence and all that, but I tweeted it out. I thought one of the great scenes. I remember this going to the movies with my father and watching it, and I never understood it as a kid when they went into and that was Butler Fieldhouse for the high school championship game, right? Because I visited that when I lived in Ohio doing radio, and it's huge. And he was doing the measurements. And then he goes, "Hey, I think you'll find these are exact same measurements at our gym back in Hickory." Like, I never understood that. And then you get older and you're saying to yourself, he's telling them, don't be overwhelmed. Like, don't be intimidated. And hey, we got a shot. And it was just perfect delivery. Even talking about it, I guess goosebumps. And I remember my father kind of looked at me and he chuckled as if to say, they got a shot to win this game. And obviously, we know how it transpired at the end of the movie. But I think that's an underrated line in that movie.
no, it's so true. And when I was coaching kids, and I'm sure you talk about when you're doing boxing, it's the same. The venue should not matter. You should go in there, focus on your opponent, uh, just be prepared. You're ready to roll, do your thing, and that's what really he was trying to teach
Top
that
top
team there.
five top five all time top five sports movie.
Whew. Our buddy Lake always said to me, "Be careful making lists." But in my mind right now, I'm saying, yeah, definitely.
Prisoner of the Moment. Well,
I'd
I'm
say,
trying to.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I definitely think it's up there. Remember the Titans is one of my favorites as well, and there's so many there's so many good sports
Brian's
movies. And
song.
yeah, that was a great
Did you
one.
ever
That
see
was,
North Dallas 40?
of course, that's a classic, and
I think it's
that was behind
such.
Pete Gent. That really took you behind the scenes
It,
of
yeah,
the NFL in the 70s. And
yeah,
a lot of people said it was a little too realistic in the
yeah.
NFL. That's another situation where like, do we really want to put this out there? But it really showed those Cowboys teams and really how they were built.
I think it was such an underrated movie. Mac Davis, Nick Nolte. The Longest Yard wasn't a sports movie, but it was sports prison slash.
You
But I
got to
thought it was a great
go
movie.
original on that one too.
Oh, of course, the
Burt
70s
Reynolds
movies. Yeah, with
version.
Burt Reynolds. Yeah,
Yeah, the Sandler version.
nah. I would say Hoosiers definitely top five all time sports
Yeah,
movie.
I definitely put it up there. I definitely,
You
I
probably
enjoy it.
throw Field
It's one of
Field
those
of
ones
Dreams.
you put that on, I'm watching it. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean? You're
doesn't matter
flicking
what
through the
scene.
channels. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's
we
like
used to rent it
Shawshank.
at the movie store.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
used
it's
to
like
run to get that thing.
there are certain movies where it doesn't matter whether it's The Godfather 1 or 2 or Scarface or Shawshank or Hoosiers or Jaws. It doesn't matter what point of the movie I'm at. If I flick it on and I see it, I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah,
But you're right. They're all getting up. I mean, Clint Eastwood, Jack Nicholson, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Freeman, Denzel's still relatively young, but they're all the old school. These guys are getting up there, man. So it's like sports, man. You got to appreciate these guys while they're there.
yeah. And now we're watching. We watched the Fowler play. Now we're watching, Junior play, which is insane.
Which
Patrick
is
Surtain.
Yes, we're
The
showing
second,
our
think of
we're
him.
showing our age. All right, there you have it. Our good friend Lloyd Vance. You can catch him every Monday 8 to 9 with the Lloyd Vance Insider Football, and also he's been dabbling a little wrestling on the YouTube channel, doing a little play-by-play. I saw that, so he's going to be putting a little more content on the YouTube channel. Correct?
Yeah, and I'm a amateur wrestling hotbed here in Pennsylvania, where I am. A lot of people like hear me talk about it, and it's fun.
Hey, that's
Play by play stuff, though. I should leave that to you, but it sometimes you feel like, oh, did I miss something? But you just keep going, and it's a lot of fun doing it.
no. I listened to some of the stuff. I thought you were good, man. It's tough with wrestling, right? Because sometimes you just got to let it unfold and you can only say so much, whereas other sports it's a little more, you know, fanatical pace. But all right, we got to drop some BYP next week, and then of course we'll catch you on Monday night, and then we'll be back here. We'll start to dive into off season and the draft. We'll do that next week as well on the Drive with Q, powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. 20% off. Check out the promo code, and they are always freshening the cup and topping you off. Don't forget to give Lloyd a follow on social media at Lloyd Vance. You can follow me at Rich Q on Q, and of course the YouTube channel Rich Q on Q. We'll catch you next time on the Drive with Q. Lloyd, always appreciate it, my friend.
All right, Q, thanks for having me on.